All right, hopefully you have a copy of this morning's bulletin and the insert. All right, so a couple of questions for you. As Dave is coming, if you don't have a copy of the insert, let Dave give you a copy so you can see it and follow along with me. So how many of you, and as you were growing up, remember, how many of you ever played dodgeball as a child? Okay, I know it's like outlawed now, but some of you played baseball as kids, you know, sandlot baseball or softball or soccer. How many of you were ever picked last for the team? Anybody ever play basketball and pick last for the team? Sure. I was up tall, but I was a horrible basketball shot. So, one of the things that's most difficult in life is being left out. It always is. And, of course, in our schools today, there is this aspect of always trying to include children, and everybody's a winner. And I think there's a good thing about that. When I grew up, if you went on the playground and you were going to have a game of dodgeball, usually two people became leaders. I'm never sure exactly how the two people became leaders, but then everybody else just kind of stood around and those leaders picked people, right? You're on my team, and this guy would pick this one and this one. And the one thing as a child that you always had was this horrible fear that you'd be the last one picked. And that really is a terrible feeling no matter what it has to do about it, is being left out and sort of being put to the side. This morning, as we're coming together and we're enjoying the opportunity to be with one another today, and we're going to have a fellowship dinner, I want to let you know that not everybody is excited when the church comes together for fellowship. And the reason why I chose this title, Why I Hate Fellowship Dinners, is because in my 30-plus years of ministry, many people have said to me, many, not just a few, have said, I hate when the church gets together for fellowship. And I've always tried to understand why folks felt that way. Particularly when the book of Acts tells us they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the mighty wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions and gave to anyone who had need. Every day, they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Sounds like a really good thing. That there was a really good aspect in the early church when people got together. There was something that happened when they got together that was supposed to happen when they got together. But as I have been a pastor these 30-some years, and as I have been with people, I've come to understand that fellowship, what's intended to occur when we get together, doesn't always happen. And I will even say to you, unless we think about it, it doesn't happen. That we really have to be intentional about it happening. And in the early church, they lost being intentional about their fellowship. And when they did, fellowship took a bad turn. Kind of that turn of being the last one picked in the soccer game or your dodgeball game or basketball. Out of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, when the church got together on these regular basis, really on a daily basis, and had this sort of feast, Paul writes, a little snippet, I invite you to go back and read the rest of it. So then, my brothers and sisters, when you gather to eat, you should all eat together. Anyone who is hungry should eat something at home, so that when you meet together it may not result in judgment. Now the part I didn't put in there is that Paul says, when you come together, some people just take dinner and go by themselves. And other people decide, we're not going to wait until everybody gets here because we're going to eat now. And what was happening is in the church of Corinth is fellowship disintegrated to the point where people were saying, I hate fellowship dinners. I understand that. And I will say to you as a church, as Cornerstone Church, if we are not intentional about what we intend to happen when we get together, it will not happen. One of my worst experiences in life, today by the way, is even though my wife is downstairs, it's our anniversary. We've been married 34 years today. So, yeah, you better clap for her later on, okay? Outside, we'll just have like a spontaneous clap for no reason, because she's put up with me for 34 years. But when I was in junior high, and some of you will remember this. You're a junior high boy, you're in 7th grade. I remember going to my first school dance. And there was a girl that I liked. Her father happened to be a mobster, but that didn't really, it didn't seem to be problematic, even though my father was a policeman. But anyway, I desperately wanted to ask her to dance, and you know how it is. You get your friends around you, and you kind of get your courage all ramped up in the high school cafeteria where our dances were held, it was about 7,000 yards from one end of the auditorium to the other. And I remember my friends saying, just go ask her. And I can remember walking across the floor, as 7th grade boys do, with all that suave and sophistication. And I remember going up and the shrill in my voice and asking, I better not mention her name because she might remember rejecting me. But anyway, because that's what happened. I said, would you like to dance with me? And she said, no! It was 15 years, no, not really, but it was a long time in getting the courage up to try it again. In the church, that emotion of feeling rejected or left out or picked last is what many people feel when we talk about fellowship in the church. They don't experience it. And so to them, when large groups of people get together, they feel like they are thrown to the outside. And people will continue to feel that, maybe you feel that way, unless we are very intentional about what it is we intend to do. Because of logistics the last couple of years, we've not been able to do larger events in the church because we haven't been able to pull it off logistically. So we're still large in the sense of trying to do something logistically this way. But I'm really counting on you to help to change that word, why I hate fellowship dinners, to kind of cross it out on the bulletin and change it to why I love fellowship dinners. But it will not happen. Fellowship events will not happen unless we're intentional to do it. Why do people not like fellowship dinners? Well, first of all, people don't understand the core reason why we sit down together and eat. It is not about eating. It really isn't. And I will tell you something. That food downstairs is going to knock your socks off. It is amazing because I have tasted it. Not today. Before, not today. Yeah, I'm ready for seconds. That's what it is. So people don't know what fellowship is supposed to be, so they think it's the same as going to Eaton Park or to Atria's or to a fancy restaurant. Because let me tell you, the food here is every bit as good as any place you're going to get, any place today. But they don't understand why we get together for it. Because they're don't understand why we're getting together. One of the things is that they're unaware of the people that are surrounding them. So my encouragement to you is not to be unaware of who is surrounding you. And if you've got, those kids are downstairs and they're under bay right now. So if you're a parent, I understand it takes two of you to wrangle kids, and it's harder for you. But my encouragement to you is to be aware of your surroundings. One of the greatest gifts that anybody in this church can have is to look at the person who's off by themselves and to walk over and to include them. But that is a gift that takes walking across that 7,000-yard floor, and sometimes when you ask somebody to include them, they tell you no. But there is value in doing that. But the reason why people don't understand why we sit down together and eat, and why we get together, one of the things that they tend to do is people tend, because they don't understand, only hang with the people they hang with. You know, I've been eating dinner with my wife and daughter all week long. I could probably survive not being with them today. Even though it's my anniversary. Okay, maybe not too long. But what I'm saying is, we fellowship with the people we always fellowship with, and so we never get to meet anybody new. The other thing that frustrates people about fellowship events is that people tend to see this event as an extension of their family time, kind of like going to the park together, but rather than as an opportunity to adopt other people. You know, one of the greatest blessings in life is to bring other people into your friendship network, to continue to make it larger and larger and larger because of people that you come to know. But that never happens unless you choose to make it happen. I understand that there are people, because of their personality, that are shy and are reserved and are not the kind of outgoing people to walk across to the next table. If that's the case, then you have to be something different. You know, none of you believe this, but my personality is not outgoing. Anybody who really knows the core of me knows that I would be happy to be like sitting out in the woods on a stump by myself. So you look at me sometimes and you think, oh, I could never be outgoing like that. You know, if you make yourself do something, you can do it. You can make yourself walk across the room. Another reason why people are frustrated is when they come to fellowship events is because many people who are there think they're there for the event, whatever it might be, a meal or a performance or whatever, rather than to share life together. Do you know the fellowship of the church is about sharing life? We eat together because we have to eat together to survive. You can tell if I miss my next meal, I am in trouble, right? Not really. Yeah, me and Larry, we have to get it first in line because, no, not really. But we're really coming together to share life with each other, to get to know each other in a way that we can be supportive in life. Another thing about why people get frustrated with fellowship dinners and fellowship events is that largely when people gather together for it, they're unaware that a fellowship meal, particularly as the Bible has it, is an extension of worship of God in which God is present with us in the event. Now, we don't really think about that. Now, I understand when we transition from here down to downstairs and all those little kids are going to be down there, and there's going to be chaos. Just kind of there is chaos when you have a big family getting together. But you know God kind of likes chaos. You know God is a big family. He loves children. And so these kids, if you see some child like doing something unsafe, just kind of help them, you know. Don't swat them, but just say, you know, please don't, rappel over the fence. That might not be a good thing to do. Or take the coals out and chase each other around under the grill. That might not be a good thing. But we need to be aware that God is supposed to be in this event with us. And it would be wonderful if we tried to take our conversation a level deeper than just, what do you think about the Penguins draft? Or the Steelers? But ask somebody, hey, what do you do for a living? Like, how do you spend your time? What kind of things are you interested in? So we get to know one another. Also, people get frustrated about fellowship events because too often the focus is on the food and not on the fellowship. And so we spend all of this time getting the event ready, thinking that the food preparation, the way the tables are set up, and the way, not that all of that isn't critical to pulling off something that's going to work together for the right end, but it's not the end. It's the means that we use towards the end of it. What fellowship dinners could do if we changed our understanding about what a fellowship dinner or a fellowship event could be? Because I would like to see us do more fellowship events, but you know what? Even a big event has to have a small characteristic to it, or it doesn't work. And so we need to be doing small things together, like going to each other's homes and eating together, or going out for coffee together, or going to the park together. And when we do big things together, we need to also understand there needs to be a smaller element to that, because obviously you're not going to fellowship with 150 people here. You're going to fellowship with a few of them. So if we changed our mindset about what this was intended to be, we would have this launching pad for supportive relationships. And that's what the church is about. The church is about having relationships that we can help one another in times of difficulty. Now, I understand an event like this, it's really not intended to go into those really, really deep things in your life in this, but it's intended to build bridges so that you have networks of support. That's what the church is supposed to be. It also would provide a point of entry to people to build bridges to find relationship in Christ. You know, it's like, I think it's 7 to 12 people that someone generally meets that are Christians before they get it themselves and make the decision to become a Christian. So fellowship events ought to be these little bridge points where they meet us, we develop some sort of relationship, even if it's on a surfacey basis to start with. Everything starts there, and it provides an opportunity for people to find a relationship in Christ. The other thing is, you'd be surprised how happy it would make you to get to know other people. It would make a welcoming feeling in the church instead of what, people complain often in the church, rightly so, that the church is a clique. You know what a clique is? It's a little group of people that's sealed. Nobody else can get in it. And that is not what God's church is supposed to be. We ought to constantly be expanding the family and our friendship networks with people. Because, friends move away, and if we don't expand our network, one day it'll be just like we'll be looking around, sitting on the stump, looking around like, where'd everybody go? Because we didn't build any friendship networks. It would bring a sense of gladness and joy to your heart. It would bring a sense of a welcoming feeling in the life of the church. So when people walked in the door, even though we're not having a fellowship event, you could go up and say, well, hello, Pastor Mike. That's a really odd name. What does that mean? You want to really freak somebody out? Go visit a church and do this. This is one of the things I started doing as a teenager. So, because of my brother mainly. But when I would go to a new church, walk into a new church sometime, and the first person you see, just walk up to it and say, hello, I'm Mike. And then they'll start to think, oh, do I know this guy? Has he been here a while? People say, oh, you're from another service? Oh no, today's my first time. It'll just throw them way off. But we need to have a welcoming feeling in the church instead of like, well, they all belong, but we haven't been picked for the team. And that's when people come, when people come in the door, that's what they want. They want to know, can they belong to this team, or are they going to be sat in the corner until we've picked everybody else and there's nothing else to do, and so we invite them. And that's why people don't like fellowship events. That's why they tend to run the other direction from them, because they don't want to be sitting by themselves, have nobody to talk to. Now, let me say something to you. Let me say a few. Well, I'll say that in a minute. But it also brings praise to God when we do it that way. It is something that's pleasing to God, and it also takes the pieces of the church and helps to bring the pieces together to unify the church. So if we changed our minds about it, it would change the event, and it would make the events better to want us to do other things. What could you do today to help me love fellowship dinners again? Well, find somebody you don't know. Guess what? Everybody has a name tag. And if they don't, you can say, hello, Anonymous. I'm really pleased to meet you. Invite somebody you don't know to sit with you. Do you know what? If you don't, there's only 6 chairs at a table, bring 7. Pull a chair up for someone and bring them to your table. Move around. There is nothing that says, once you have eaten in a place, you must stay there. No rule. That rule is gone today, okay? So if you get up out of your seat and go for dessert and you come back and somebody's in your seat, oh well, tough luck. They're just doing what I asked them to do, and apparently you're not. So move around. Do you ever watch me does anybody ever watch me at a fellowship event?
Oh yeah.
Do you know, okay? Besides the fact that I go for dessert first, okay? Other than that, do you see that I don't stay in one place very long? Why? Because I want to connect with people. And that's what, you know, if you find somebody you have a really interesting conversation, then, I'm not telling you to move on necessarily. But what I'm saying is, don't believe you have to stay in one spot. Now, you can go around, I'm trying to give you excuses to do this. If you're like really shy, you can just say like, well, you can't really say I'm terrible with names if they get a tag, unless you say I'm terrible with reading, maybe that's what you could say. You can just say, Pastor Mike made me, he said we had to do this today. Blame me, I don't care. But go and say to somebody, oh, is that, people sometimes ask, when I sign my emails, I always sign PM. And people say, what does that mean? Go ask somebody what their name means, or what they do, or where they've been, or did you like the ribs, or what did you eat today? What did you think was great today here? Look at the sky and say, what do you think the cloud looks like? That made me think you're a little strange, but try to find some point of conversation to engage people. Now, you are not going to connect with everybody, because we all have different personalities, and you're not going to connect with everybody, and you may connect with somebody and suddenly they latch on to you, and you can't escape the conversation. Okay, so if you have the mind you want to keep moving on and say, I have really enjoyed this conversation, but Pastor Mike says I need to move to other people, okay? So you can move on if it's uncomfortable. This doesn't mean that you're going to be friends with everybody or have this close relationship with everybody in the life of the church, but you're never going to know anybody if you just sit there and have your meal to yourself and go home. That's not what I want you to do. I really want you to think about what you're going to do and try to do it. It's very intimidating to come in when you don't know people. And when the reality is, if I were to have a test right now and bring people up and make you say their names, many of you would not be able to do it, okay? That's okay. But you got name tags today, so we're going to really make it easier for you to get to know somebody. Here's some other ways you can get to know people. Look around for somebody whose glass is empty, and just walk over and say, can I get you some, what do we have down there? Punch? Lemonade? Or iced tea? Or can I get you water? Would you like something? Do you need anything? Can I get you something? That's a great way to get to know people. To move around and do that for somebody and have the opportunity to meet them. The last thing I want to say is don't give up so easily. God wants us to be... Dave, would you go outside in the entryway there for a second here? Just grab those 2 boys and sit them down. They're ready to eat apparently, but they're playing soccer. I can watch them play soccer. Don't give up so easily. I'm glad that when I asked that first girl to dance and she said no, I didn't say, well, that's I guess I'm never going to get married, never date, never anything. Just give up right then. I didn't. I just thought of more creative ways to do it. Kathy and I have been married 34 years, but I met Kathy in the library of North Hills High School. And when I met her in the library, I had heard that she was a Christian. I hadn't met her yet. And, here was my opening line. My opening line to her was, as she sat across to the library table, I said, so what would you think about marrying a pastor? That was my introduction. You know what her response was? She didn't respond. She just kept reading her book. But somewhere in her mind, she must have been thinking about that. So my encouragement to you is don't give up because you have negative experiences. Because God wants us to be in fellowship together.